Hey, it's been a while. So today I wanted to make a video on the relationship of how you spend your time and how that affects your actual client results. Because I've been realizing lately, I've been speaking to a lot of different 3D artists, and I've been realizing that most people spend their time on the wrong things. And I thought I'd draw a chart here to illustrate this point. And you'll see on one hand that initially, when it comes to learning 3D and stuff, there's a certain level of um, output that you get from learning 3D and the amount of input that you put in when it comes to learning it. So, what I mean is that when you're a beginner, the return on your time for learning 3D and improving your skills, let me say like improving your skills, right? Is quite high because you don't really have any skills. Like if you want to get clients and you want to do good work for clients, obviously you need the skills to be able to do it. So like that's where you start, right? You're watching a lot of tutorials online, improving your 3D. And maybe if we looked on a scale of like 0 to 100%, your 3D goes from like 0%, which is really bad, to like 10%, 20%, maybe around like 30% now, where like that means on average, compared to like the rest of the world, you're like around the 30% mark in terms of quality. Like your modeling is kind of decent, your lighting is kind of decent, but like not like world class. And overall, your 3Ds is like not that world class. So like it would make sense for you to invest more time into improving your 3D skills, because that would make a big impact in terms of the amount of clients you can convert, the types of clients you can attract, whether they're high quality clients or like low quality clients that don't really look for quality as much, how much you can charge, all of those things, right? So it makes sense. The issue I find is that at a certain point, you get a very small return on your investment from improving your 3D. And I've realized this because I've had quite a few people reach out to me like, hey, like I really want to improve my 3D. That's going to help me get clients. And I look at their 3D work, and their 3D work is like there's not much they can do to make it look that much better to a client, right? If you're comparing it to like other 3D artists and like you want 3D artists to review your work, then yeah, they can technically analyze it and nitpick every little detail. But like when it comes to a client, there's a certain threshold where improving your work will make very little difference, like 0 to 10% difference in terms of the amount of clients you'll get, the amount you can charge, the amount of clients you'll convert. It will make very different, like very little difference. And at that point, you should already be focusing more on actually attracting those clients, right? Because what a lot of people do when you're creative, you're a 3D artist and you're very creative, like you think that every problem that needs to be solved is solved by creating more, right? Because it's funny because I had a guy reach out to me even like this week, and he's like, yeah, I really want to improve my 3D, and like I know this is going to help me get clients. And I told him, I was like, hey bro, I think I get where you're coming from. That's great. I love that he wants to improve, but I think the process and the strategy he's using is wrong, right? My theory is that his 3D is good enough and he needs to focus on client attraction. Improving your 3D and client attraction are very two different things. You can be, I mentioned this a lot and people love it when I say this, but like you can literally be the best 3D artist in the world, but if no one knows that you exist, like it doesn't matter. Like I'm purely speaking from a client attraction point of view, right? If you're learning 3D because it's a hobby, it's a passion, you're doing it because you enjoy it, then that's amazing. But like this video is not about that. This is, if you're talking about like I actually want to get paid for this, I want to attract high paying clients and I want to attract a lot of them, that's a separate different, like that's a totally different topic. So if you're learning 3D for the client attraction purpose, then it doesn't matter if you're the best if no one knows you exist. And this guy was very convinced that he just needed to keep improving his 3D, and he didn't listen to me. And he's gone on to continue watching more tutorials, buying more courses, and he just wants to keep improving his 3D. And I was trying to be a good coach and kind of telling him like, hey, like there's certain truths when it comes to getting clients in 3D, and there's certain things that are not true. And one of the trends that a lot of people are following is that they think that the more you improve your 3D forever, like if you just keep improving your 3D forever, like the clients will come. And that's not true. If you keep improving your 3D to a certain point, that could make a massive difference in terms of your client attraction abilities, because your quality can go from like 0 to 80%. But you'll find that a lot of clients are okay with 80%. And by getting from 80 to 90%, you might find that it doesn't affect at all the amount of clients you get, how much you can charge, all of that stuff. And it's purely your own thoughts in your own head. And you're worried about like, what are other 3D artists going to think about you, right? A lot of people don't realize that the 3D is actually really good. And that's not the area that they need to focus on. The next area they need to focus on, like, how do I attract those clients? You know, what kind of clients am I looking for? Where do they hang out? How can I attract them? What kind of work are they looking for? What types of projects should I put in my portfolio? How should my portfolio be laid out so that it sells them and sells like my services the best? How do I even get them on calls so that we can discuss the project and like convert them? Like, these are things people don't think about. They just think like, oh, I just need to create more. I need to add more projects. I need to increase the quality. You know, I need to learn different areas of 3D. I just need to keep improving my skills. And this guy's probably going to keep doing this for like 3, 6 months, maybe a year. A lot of people spend years with like very little results, right? Before they really admit that there's a problem there, which is unfortunate, but it's just the way people are. He's probably going to go 6 months, 9 months, and then he's going to realize like, I've added a ton more projects to my portfolio. My 3D's improved a lot, and I still don't really have clients. He might get a client here and there, right? And that could just be by chance, right? He could make a post and the algorithm delivers it just to like the one extra person that's the right fit, who tells a friend, and that person happens to have a project right now and messages him, and he gets a client. He works on the client project for a month, and then there's nothing for like 2-3 months. It's a typical pattern that happens. But you're not necessarily in a place where like you've got so many clients wanting to work with you, you're jumping on calls every single day with different clients discussing different projects. You're in a place where, you know, you can keep increasing your pricing 10% each time you do a project. You have so much client work that your new problem is, how do I manage all those clients? You know, how do I automate and systemize the client outreach process so I don't have to worry about getting clients anymore, and I just do the projects I love? How do I outsource the parts of the projects that I don't enjoy doing and I'm not that good at anyway? And, you know, these are things that people never really get to a point of even thinking about, because they're so focused on, you know, the 3D, improving the 3D, when they're actually trying to solve a problem of like, how do I get clients? And they think that it's watching more tutorials, it's buying more courses. And I'm speaking about like the 3D aspect specifically. If you watch more videos on how to get clients, then, you know, then obviously like that's where you should focus on. So there's a certain point when you're a beginner where like the more time you invest in learning 3D will help your results, and then it kind of like tapers off, right? And then somewhere like halfway through that curve is where you already want to start focusing on the client side, because when you're halfway, you're good enough to get your first client. And you want to start focusing on the client attraction side when you're halfway, so that by the time your 3D is like world class and really good, the camera just ran out of battery. As I was saying, so by the time you're already really good, that's already where you want to at least have some sort of skills when it comes to client attraction. You don't want to wait until your work is like world class, and then you're gonna be like, okay, now I'm gonna become a beginner at getting clients, and now I'm gonna start the process of you know, looking at where to find clients, how to set up my portfolio, my profiles, how to message them, how to get them on calls, all of that stuff, right? It's much better to start where you're like, your work is decent and it's getting towards like a really good place. Now is when I'm going to start learning how to get clients and going through that process, because that process can take time, especially if you don't really know what you're doing and you're a beginner and you're learning a new skill, just like you're learning 3D. Rather start that process so that by the time your work is world class, you've already nailed the client attraction process, right? And then, you know, at that stage, the only other variable was like your quality of work, and everything else wasn't really an impact. So I think that's where it's a really important video, especially for people that have been learning 3D for some time, and they feel like, if I just keep improving my work, if I just keep adding stuff to my portfolio, my Instagram page, just keep posting, keep learning new skills in different areas of 3D, like that's the key to getting clients. Like, to a certain point, to a certain extent, improving your 3D skills will make a big difference. But then there's a massive tip off where, you know, there's other people that will have worse quality work than you, but they have better business skills and they will get more clients than you. They'll make more money than you, and they'll ultimately get more experience than you, even if their work is worse. I find it very funny when like people tell me like that their work is better than mine, the quality of work is better than mine, all that stuff. But then when I look at their actual business results, it's not much there. A lot of people like have a lot of ego around like their 3D and stuff because they've been doing it a long time, so they want to protect that. And then they come on and they'll be telling me like try to give like certain advice on 3D and like try to make themselves feel like their work is really good. But when it comes to them, how many clients they've actually worked with, how much money they're actually making, how many clients they're actually getting right now, like that's where they need to like humble themselves and realize like, okay, like let me be smart about this and kind of think about like where am I at with my skills, and does improving my skills at all or adding another project to my Instagram or anything like that is like how much is that going to actually impact the clients I get? A lot of people it's like 0%. So at that stage you need to think about like, okay, like how do I attract clients, right? And that's a whole other ballgame. So I wanted to make this video to stop a lot of people from wasting potentially a whole year of their life and also shortening the time that it takes to get them clients, because if you just focus on the right things, your inputs dictate your outputs. If your output and if your design output is to make 10K a month, get 2-3 clients a month, you need to change your inputs. And if you're not getting there and you're not hitting those goals, and that's just an example goal. Some people want to make 5K a month. Some people want to make less, depending on where you live and like your goals and like your lifestyle and what you want. But if you're not reaching those goals regardless, then you need to look at your inputs and see like where's your time going, and what are you actually spending your time on, and is that going to actually get you to the results that you want? Because those, you need to change at certain point. Like a lot of people stay in this beginner mindset when they're no longer beginners. And they keep treating that as like, oh, just keep learning, keep grinding, keep improving, and the clients will come, magically. Whereas when you're no longer such a beginner, your focuses need to drastically change if you want to actually get clients. So hopefully that video is helpful. Hopefully that provides some insights. I would highly recommend you look at like how you're spending your time, and do you think that time is actually going to get you the results that you want? If you're a beginner, you're learning 3D as a hobby, all of that stuff, then 100%, a lot of you, like your work just needs to improve and your work needs to be good enough to work for clients. But at a certain point, you need to change that and change where you're investing your time if you do actually want to get clients in the end. So hopefully you find this video helpful, and yeah, I'll see you guys soon.